Hi guys, welcome to episode number 3 in the Klinik RC series of little tips and stuff. Today I want to do some shocks, and I'll show you how I've done them for a long time, many years, and show you how to make a consistent shock really easy. So shocks are obviously huge in racing. You can do really well if you do your shocks well. You can do really bad if you do them really bad. So basically I have one shock here that's tore apart, drained out all the oil, skip past all that stuff. And this will apply for any shock really. Pretty much everybody's using bleeder caps these days, and the shocks are basically all the same. So there's basic tools here. There's some shock shaft pliers for getting the length right here. Most of your setup sheets will have a length here, and you want to make sure to match that up with the setup. And calipers to measure that, a little stand here in case you want to let the air get out naturally. Right RC Schumacher makes the vacuum pump that sucks the bubbles out really fast. We'll use that today so we can keep the video short, and then some oil, of course. So basically you're going to go through and drain your oil out, and then we're going to replace the oil. Let's say you're changing your setup or whatever, and you're changing your oil, or you're just doing regular maintenance. You'll fill it full of oil, about pretty much all the way full, and then I like to work it around, get some of the air bubbles out, the big bubbles, okay? And then I'll throw it in my shock stand here. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Let's put it in there like that. Okay, and then we'll give it a few pumps and we'll get that. This basically just creates a vacuum inside the chamber, so all the air will come out and get out of the oil. You want to get as much air out of there as you can, so the shock is consistent. And then I do something a little bit different during the bleeding of the shock that I don't normally see other guys doing, but a lot of them, once they try it and do it, they continue to do it that way. And also on like the Schumacher shock caps, you have two options when you drill these out, when you build the kit. So to make it easier on myself and not have to guess which one's drilled out, I always just mark it with a Sharpie. So when you pull the screw out, you know exactly which side the oil is going to come out of. And I've seen a lot of people have problems with these leaking, and I think it's an issue with assembly. A lot of times the guys will put this O-ring on top of the plastic cap and then put it inside the threaded piece, and that's not the way you do it. You want to do it this way, so the cap and the O-ring down. I've never had these leak at all, so I'm not sure. Maybe that's what some guys are having problems with or not. So this thing's about done. I'm just going to let the air out a little bit and give it one more juice up there, and it'll pull the rest of the air out really quick. So these are nice to have trackside when you're trying to rebuild shocks in between heats. We have these on the website. I think they're 30-40 bucks, and I've had this thing for years, probably 10 years, so they last. They'll do on-road, off-road, 8 scale. We carry the long version, so it'll do everything. So I know they make a specific one for on-road, but just like to have the one that does it all. So okay, we're all good. This is fairly air-free. There's a couple in there still. We'll let those work out. While we're doing this, they'll come out of there. So I'm just going to top it off, and I'm going to do a pretty good sized dome on here. It almost wants to spill over a little bit. Then I'll put my cap on, and then I'm going to tighten this fully down all the way. And right now the shaft is completely extended. So you have maximum amount of oil inside there. This is what I do a little bit different than most. So when I go to bleed the oil out of the bleed screw there and finish building the shock, I always put the spring cup on, because in my opinion, you're driving around on the track, you're always going to have the spring cup on the shock. So I don't understand why people for so many years have compressed the shaft even further than it would ever normally see on the racetrack and remove more oil than they really should. So I know this shock is completely topped off, and these things can be a bugger, they're so tight. Okay, that's on there. Pull it all the way down, and then I'm just going to start compressing this, and you can see the oil starting to come out already, and then that pushes the bubbles since they're all at the top. So, and then I'm going to hold that down fully compressed, and then this is when my screw goes in, and I know which side the screw goes on because I marked it with a Sharpie. So this makes it super easy to do between heats, no thinking required, which is perfect for me. So, and then here's, wipe off the ooze, and then we're pretty good. There's just a tiny little bit of rebound, and if you don't like that, it's fine. Let's take it out. So I'm gonna compress this, hold this compressed while I take the screw out, and it'll push just a little bit more oil. And that's where your rebound comes from. Let's tighten it back down, and we'll check rebound again. Perfect. And there's no air in there. You can hear it. There's absolutely no noise coming from the shock, like the squishy sound that you hear when you have air. So some guys will pump this up a bunch and then check the rebound. That's pretty much, that's like 1 millimeter. So that's pretty much 0 rebound. I'm not worried about that. The biggest thing with shocks is if you do them consistent every time. So if this is how you build them every time, it's fine. It's not gonna cost you 5 spots in the A-main. This is not gonna ruin your race. So the biggest thing with shocks is doing it the same over and over and over again. So when you do make a change, you feel that change and not a change in the way you're doing your shocks. So we'll pull this off, throw the spring on, and this shock is done. Get that on there all nice. Now, let's say that you're like me and you mark the collars, but when you screw this on, this doesn't always end up in exactly the right spot. That's fine. Just grab the plastic and twist it, just like that. This is still tight and it's not gonna leak, and then I just lined up my mount with the white mark. So then you're right back to where you were at before. So when I do a bunch of shocks, I'll keep them all separated. So I'll put like the left and right fronts and the left and right rears. And then I'll do the same here, left front, left rear, right front, right rear, so that I keep them separated. Everything goes back together exactly how it came apart. So you don't have to worry about changing something, you know, along the way. So when I put them back together, I'll put them back in there the same way and then back on the car the same way. So that's really easy. Nice little short video, couple tips. Yeah, maybe this will help you improve your racing and improve your consistency. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll do another video next weekend, and be safe, and we'll see you then.